Hey there gamers, welcome back to the Board Game Co channel, and today we have a preview of Echoes of the Sundering. Hey there gamers, it's Professor Meg here, and welcome back to the Board Game Co channel. Today we have a preview of Echoes of the Sundering by the Wilderforge. Now, this is an upcoming crowdfunding campaign, so you can check out the Kickstarter link down below for everything that they have planned. This is a sponsored video, and this is also a prototyped copy in front of me, so all of the rules, components, and things like that are subject to change, and it is a prototype version to show you what the game is going to be like. Now, that being said, Echoes of the Sundering is going to be a cooperative campaign game for 1 to 5 players, where you're playing as these different heroes. Now, you are going through a narrative element that's going to have around 40 hours of campaign play for you, with branching story paths and choices that are really going to matter. But that being said, this game is going to be a deck building game where you are choosing these base archetypes, such as attacking for the red deck, and you're going to have these 2 colors mixed in together to make your hero. Now, you also have some building in the beginning of the game, some choices of who your character is and why, and that's going to give you a few cards to start off with your deck as well, but you are going to choose those colors, and then you're going to be deck building throughout that you're going to be able to upgrade your cards. They do switch within the sleeve, so you're going to be able to flip it over to have perhaps a more complex choice for what that card might be and be able to change them there, but you're also going to be adding cards to your deck. You're going to be doing that when you unlock future classes, but you're also going to do that when certain things happen, such as beating certain enemies and encounters, because they're going to give you rewards based on what you did, and sometimes that is going to be cards to help you with your deck building as well. So everything is going to be extremely customized based on the choices that you're making, where you choose to go in this world, and the order that you choose to do it in. So before we dive into the game itself overall, I just want to show you what I meant at the beginning of the game when players are building out their starting heroes and what that's going to look like. So here you can see this player has a warrior, and that is going to be a mix from the red and the blue decks. So if we take a look here, you can see that they have a mix of red and blue cards, where the red cards are providing a lot of attacks and damage, whereas the blue cards are going to have a bit more shield for you and blocking and things like that. Now, as I said, you also have the cards that determine who you are at the beginning of the game and why your hero is doing what they're doing, such as this Hunter card, which was added in for this player. So you can see where your deck is going to be built out and customized based on the things that happen. Now, this Bloom Birth is something that this character was able to gain because they are the Fae folk. So you can see where just different things are going to contribute depending on the choices that you make and what happens, such as gaining our little pet over here, Tuscan. So those are all things that will be happening to you at the beginning of the game, but it also gives you an idea of how you're going to be deck building these cards in the future as well. Now, this is primarily going to be important during your encounter phases, which I'm going to get to in a bit, but now I'm going to talk about the pace of play of the general world. So you are going to have your storybook here, and it's going to have you jump straight into the narrative element of the story and why all of your heroes are doing what they're doing, but you're also going to be moving around this map. Now, the map is going to have some areas that are a bit closer up, where you can see that this is one tree area where we have different locations to go into, such as the guard station, the arena, things like that. But then you also have the overworld map where you are able to explore. So you can see the party token here, for example, they're at spot number 7. And then you have your little exploration chart here that's going to show you how you're going to be able to move around this area. So to be able to travel, you can move to a connected location by spending 1 food resource. So we would be able to go from 9 all the way up here, or sorry, from 7 all the way up here to 9 with that travel. But if you ever run out of resources, you are able to hunt. However, that is going to add a time. Now, time is going to be tracked in your journal, and as I said, this poisonous fog is coming into all of the different areas, so time is going to be really important and something that you have to track, because you can't take too long trying to do what you're doing. Now, you can also camp, which is going to also add time and spend your resources, but that's going to allow players to heal their health to full and draw a campfire event, because players are going to lose health during the different encounters, and their health does not automatically replenish after every encounter. Another thing you're going to be able to do is explore, so you can go into your current location in the storybook, which I'll get to soon, but another thing that players are able to do is change the map. So if you spend 1 resource, you're able to draw a travel event and then move to a connected map. So for example, this has D showing here, and we're currently on the B map, and we don't want to see C because we haven't gone there yet, so we're going to make sure that we flip right to D without seeing anything we're not supposed to, and you can see that B is connected here, which is where it will have us us end up, and now we're on a whole new map to explore. Now, something to note about this game is that it does require either 3 or 5 heroes, but that doesn't mean that you need 3 or 5 players. You have your heroes that you're able to play with, but there are also companions that are a little bit easier that you still need to be able to go through these encounters and fight off the different things, and they're still pretty powerful, but they aren't as detailed as your heroes are, so if you are playing with a player count that isn't 3 or 5, you'll use these companions to fill in what you need for your party to make up the difference. So you can see over here we have Dara, and they are going to have the same tracker here for their health, blocking, and stamina, but their abilities are going to be a little bit more streamlined. Now, taking a look at the storybook, because this is a campaign game, I don't want to show you too much, and I do want to keep this a bit of a secret for you. And as I said, there is going to be a gameplay on the channel, so for those that do want to see more of the narrative elements and how the story unfolds, definitely check out the gameplay for that, because here I just want to keep it as spoiler-free as possible to see if you want to be playing the game. So here is the storybook, and this is going to be your opening. This is how you're understanding why you're here and what's going on with that poisonous fog and the different backgrounds. But you can see that this is going to have you turn to certain pages to read specific entries. So depending on where you are, you'll go to the specific entry, and then the book will have you, it'll basically pull you through where you need to go. For example, here you can see, go to 2.1, and an acolyte in your party, go to 2.6. So depending on the different things, you will read specific entries, but that is where I'm going to leave that there for the storybook, because again, I do want to keep it secret. I'm not going to be reading any actual narrative elements for this preview, but just know that this is going to walk you through everything that you need to know, but depending on the choices that you make, you're not going to see everything that is in this book. You're only going to see the things that you choose to do, and you're going to be sitting there wondering, what didn't I do? Alright, so now to take a look at what an encounter looks like and when players will be entering into combat, you can see this felon here that players are going to be fighting off. Now, it does have 18 health for 3 players, or it would have 26 for 5 players, and there's actually a hard mode side on the other side as well that makes them a bit stronger, so just know that there are harder ways to defeat these enemies as well if you think that this might seem a little too easy, but trust me, they are quite formidable. So players are going to be fighting off against these different creatures, again trying to meet the health threshold, and they're going to have different conditions. So this one is going to be if you deal 3 damage, if you deal 3 damage to the felon with attacks, you're going to flip this card. So the cards will also flip and progress through the different cards that you can see here for this creature, depending on the conditions that you're meeting and the things that you are doing to it. Now, another thing to look at is that this creature is going to attack 3 times for 6 damage each in a 3-player game, or 4 times for 7 damage each. Now, that may seem like a lot. That means that in a 3-player game, they're attacking for 18 damage every round, and trust me, it is a lot. I'm going to get into your statistics because you are able to block damage, but otherwise, they are attacking for that much damage. Now, in order to do so, players are going to have this threat bag, and you're going to have tokens in here. So all of the players start off with 2 tokens in this bag, meaning that they're all equally as dangerous to this current creature. But as they start getting drawn from the bag, you're also going to be placing some in, and that's how you're going to entice the creature to start attacking you instead. So, for example, there is the tank creature over here, or sorry, the tank hero over here, and they're going to be putting even more of these threat tokens into the bag, hoping to be the one to be attacked, because they are also very good at building up shields. So when those attacks happen, these are drawn from the bag for the 3 different people, and you can see where green would be attacked twice and red would only be attacked once. Now, I am jumping ahead of myself a little bit because that is how the enemies operate and how they're going to be attacking, but they won't attack until the end of the round. Players are going to have their chance to play all of their cards, and this is going to be simultaneous play. So everyone has an amount of stamina that they're able to use to play the cards they need to, but depending on the ebb and flow of how players are all interacting with each other, some might give more stamina to others, some might allow other players to draw cards, and it can really change everything that players are doing as they're working together. So it's going to be a very constant flow of all of the players talking to each other, seeing what cards can support other people, and who is able to take out and assess with the current situation what they need to do. So at the beginning of the encounter, players will have their decks shuffled, and then they will start off with 5 cards. So I am just going to draw 5 to give you a look at what this looks like. Here you can see Trickery, and that is one of the cards that this player gained because they are a fae. So you can also see where the choices they made in the beginning are very, very important. But taking a look here, most cards are going to cost you stamina to be able to play them. So you do regenerate a certain amount of stamina at the beginning of every turn. For example, currently they are gaining 3, so we have 3 stamina to be able to spend. Now we do have a 3 stamina cost card over here, which is going to be Shield Block. When Shield Block is played, you're going to be able to add a threat token to the bag. So when you play it for the round, you'll put this here to show that you will be adding that to the bag at the end of the round. And then you would gain 3 shields. So you'll track that over here where the max you're able to gain is 5, but you'll gain the 3. And then you may return a defend in your discard to the top of your deck. So it also has a special ability that is pretty good for that card, although not the best at the beginning of the game. But if you chose to discard this card instead, you could discard it without paying the stamina cost to only gain that shield on the side. So all of these cards do have something over here on the side that they're also worth it for you as well. Most of these are providing stamina, where this one is adding a threat token. But normally you're going to be playing the cards for their stamina cost to be able to get the whole ability. Now, taking a look at the other cards in this player's hand, for example, they have this attack here, which is Smash, but it would have cost them 4 stamina. So if they had chosen not to play this card, they could have actually discarded this one for 1 stamina to be able to play this card. This one would have instead allowed them to place 2 threat tokens this turn, and then they would draw a card, and we would also be able to do 3 damage over here to the Fellid Beast. So you can see where the type of card really changes what you're doing, whether you're attacking and drawing cards, playing a little bit more defensively, or depending on the other colors you may have chosen, you might be doing something more like support for other players, because there are certain classes that can support, for example, getting more stamina, drawing cards, things like that. But the thing that is going to be really important is going to be this blocking. So I did explain a little bit about what the cards are going to do, but at the end of the round, when this creature would attack, if he did draw those 2 tokens for us, having this much shield will allow us to reduce their attack. So if he is attacking for 6, this would reduce it by 3, and it stays for all attacks that round. So even if he attacked us twice, he would be attacking us for 3 and 3, but that's not all, because players also have all of these items available to them. So for example, this player here has receive -1 damage from the first attack targeting you if you defended this round. So if we had defended this round and had our defense up, then the first attack would only do 2 damage instead of 3. But they also have this hide armor, which is going to have them once per round when they are attacked gain 1 stamina. So different things can trigger that might not always reduce damage, but it's always going to give you a little something special if you're able to have armor that activates when you're attacked. Now, players also have this area here for their passive cards. Any cards that you're playing that are action cards are going to stay in your play area for the round. Any instance will go over here to your discard pile, but your passive ones will go here into your player board. So, for example, this one does cost 6 stamina. You're probably playing it a little bit later in the game, but it's called Stubborn. So you'd be able to place 2 threat tokens and then gain 4 shield, which is great. And then you would gain 1 stamina each time you were attacked and then discard it at the end of the round. So that would be a way for you to gain a whole bunch of extra stamina for being attacked that round, especially if you're in an encounter with multiple enemies or enemies that do multiple attacks. Now, finally, just to show you, this is an example of an instant card, but this is Trickery, where you would be able to play this instantly and return up to 2 action cards in your play area back to your hand. So this would be a way for you to take this Smash back and hopefully be able to attack with it in future rounds. Now, again, I am showing you all of these cards without really looking at my stamina, because you will be able to increase your stamina recovery, meaning that if you upgrade this to +4, at the beginning of each round, you'll be gaining 4 stamina instead of 3, but you are also able to roll some over up to a total of 8. So if you do not use all of your stamina in a particular round, you are able to roll it over to make you even stronger. Now, players do start with the 5 cards in their hand at the beginning of the encounter, but after that, at the beginning of each turn, they're only going to draw 1 card. So your cards are going to slow down, but you're limited to playing cards that you have enough stamina for, so it's not that bad, and you are able to discard them if you choose to do so, but that's usually the last thing you choose to do. What you're really going to do is rely on the other players, because they're going to be able to help you with the different things that you need to do, as you're able to help them as well. Now, these encounters are giving players rewards, and it's going to be how you're progressing throughout the game. So depending on the choices that you make, you're going to be getting different rewards for this. Perhaps you're unlocking a future class where a certain hero is going to be able to say, I really think that would be great for me, and I'd love to integrate that into my deck. Or there's just going to be cards that players are able to gain and divvy them out among the different heroes. Now, you're also gaining things like armor, sometimes weapons, different things like that are items that you're also able to use. And players are going to be able to choose who gets what and really cooperatively build out these different heroes, because they are all going to feel very, very unique depending on what they specialize in, but they all work so well together with helping each other that you're going to start to notice a cohesiveness depending on how you choose to build this out. Now, there are going to be even more surprises thrown at players for certain enemies that they're fighting, such as things like being poisoned. There are certain enemies that are going to add poison cards to your hand, which is going to be detrimental because if it's in your hand, you're going to receive a damage at the end of the round. But if you would gain health, that is how you remove the poison instead of healing. So you can see where this can be really tricky and very, very dangerous for players to be gaining. But different conditions like this are going to come out where players are going to have to really learn not only how to use their abilities to just do damage, but the game is going to ask different things of them, such as figuring out how to heal from things like that poisoning, or trying to heal certain things within counters as well. Now, just to show off the classes a bit more for you, we have here the Shaman, but we also have a Strategist over here, and a few others. We have the Guardian, the Warden, the Seer, and the Commander. So here you can see how you mix together the different colors and the choices that you may have for what you want your hero to be. And there's a huge amount of replayability for you to choose a different hero in a future game. Now, here we have the journal that I want to show off, where this is where you're going to be tracking time, but you're also tracking anything that you need for your party. So you have a notes section, you also have different things that you're able to check off, and here's where you'll be tracking time and receiving certain consequences based on that. So this journal is going to be very, very important for players to get through the story of the Echoes of the Sundering. Overall, Echoes of the Sundering is going to be a cooperative campaign game with a very strong narrative element, but what I think actually sets it apart is going to be the cards that you are playing during the hero phase, and that the hero phase is simultaneous. So these cards and the way they work with each other, you are spending stamina to play them, and some characters will allow you to gain extra stamina, some will help you draw cards, and some will have different cards in your passive areas giving you different things. Now, some players are going to be straight attackers, but depending on how they're supported, they're going to be able to do that even better, and some things will help you gain shields, things like that, or heal when you really need to. So what I really think is very special is that it is that simultaneous hero phase where all of the heroes are playing their cards at the same time, and depending on the order and the communication of the players at the table and how that is done, you might not even be able to do the thing that you wanted to do until everyone comes in to help and works together. So I do think that that cooperative element is very, very strong in this game, and I really think that it's all based on how these cards are developed and how they all work together. So if you'd like to see exactly how that plays out, you can check out the gameplay that's going to be on the channel, because I think it is a great showing of how all of these different heroes really work together during the hero phase to make the magic happen, and it's not something that they would have been able to do if they were all operating on their own, and I think it's just a very special piece to this game. So you can check out the Kickstarter link down below for everything that the Wilderforge has planned for Echoes of the Sundering. Thank you all for watching the Board Game Co channel. I've been Professor Meg, and I will see you all next time. Bye!